It was one of those summer afternoons that made the air feel heavy. The streets were quiet except for the distant hum of cars and the soft buzz of cicadas hiding in the trees. The sun was so bright that the road looked like it was melting. On the corner of Maple Avenue, a small wooden table stood with a handwritten sign that said, "Fresh lemonade, $1." Behind that table stood a little boy, no older than 9. His t-shirt was a little too big for him, and his cap was turned backward to block the sun from his face. His cheeks were red from the heat, but he smiled at every car that passed by, hoping someone would stop. He had spent the whole morning squeezing lemons with his mom before she went to rest. She wasn't feeling too well lately, so he wanted to help in any way he could. He had saved up coins for weeks to buy the lemons, sugar, and cups. It wasn't much, but to him this stand meant everything. It was his way of helping out, maybe earning enough to buy his mom's favorite tea or some of the medicine she'd been skipping because it was expensive. As the hours passed, only a few people stopped. A couple of joggers bought a cup, smiling at him before running off again. One old man gave him $2 but told him to keep the change. The boy's grin grew a little wider with that small act of kindness. But soon the heat made the street empty again. He looked up and saw the clouds moving slow across the sky. He wiped his forehead with his arm and whispered to himself, "Just a few more customers, that's all I need." His voice was hopeful, even though his box of change looked almost the same as when he started. Then came the sound that made the air vibrate, the deep growl of motorcycle engines. 3 large bikes turned the corner, their riders dressed in black leather jackets, boots, and sunglasses. The noise alone was enough to turn heads from down the street. The boy stood up straight, a little nervous but also curious. Maybe one of them would buy a cup. The bikes pulled up right near his stand, engines rumbling even after they stopped. The biggest one of the 3 took off his helmet, revealing a tall man with tattoos on his arms and a beard that looked rough like sandpaper. He walked toward the stand, his heavy boots clapping against the pavement. "Lemonade, huh?" the man said, his voice low and sharp. The boy nodded politely. "Yes, sir. It's $1 a cup. It's really good and cold." The man smirked and looked down at the small plastic jug on the table. "Doesn't look too clean to me," he said. His friends laughed behind him, their engines still idling loudly. The boy's smile faded just a little, but he tried to stay calm. "I washed everything this morning. It's fresh, I promise." The man picked up one of the cups, sniffed it, and then set it back down with a scoff. "You call this lemonade? Looks more like cloudy water. Who's gonna drink this garbage?" The boy's hands tightened around the edge of the table. He didn't know what to say. His throat felt dry and he could feel his face turning hot. Not from the sun this time, but from embarrassment. People walking by slowed down. Some stared for a second, then kept moving. No one wanted to get involved. The biker laughed again and reached for the pitcher. The boy quickly stepped forward, trying to protect his stand. "Please don't touch that, sir. I worked hard to make it." The man leaned closer, his shadow covering the boy completely. "Worked hard?" he said with a smirk. "Kid, this is nothing. You think standing here in the sun makes you special?" The boy didn't answer. His eyes dropped to the ground. He wished his mom was there, or at least someone who would say something, but no one did. The other bikers chuckled and revved their engines for fun, watching the boy flinch at the sudden noise. The man picked up a cup again, poured some lemonade into it, and took a sip, then spat it out on the ground. "Tastes awful," he said, shaking his head. "You should just go home. Leave business to the grown-ups." He dropped the cup onto the ground, crushing it with his boot before walking back toward his bike. The lemonade spilled across the pavement, mixing with dust and dirt. The boy stood still, eyes glassy, trying not to cry. His heart sank. He wanted to shout, but his voice just wouldn't come out. The man laughed again as he climbed back onto his motorcycle. "Come on, boys," he said. "Let's get out of here. Waste of time." They started their engines again, louder than before. The boy looked down at the mess on the ground, his little dream crushed in seconds. He knelt down and picked up the cup, his small hands trembling. He whispered softly, "I just wanted to help my mom." And just when the bikers were about to ride off, another sound came from across the street. The deep hum of a black SUV parking near the curb. The driver's door opened and a tall man stepped out. He wore jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and a baseball cap pulled low. He didn't look like someone fancy, just calm, strong, and confident. He crossed the street slowly, carrying a bottle of water. He had been watching for a moment from his car. He saw the whole thing, the boy's small act of courage and the man's unnecessary cruelty. He didn't rush or shout. He just walked toward the stand, eyes steady on the biker who was about to leave. "Hey," the tall man said, his voice firm but calm. The biker paused and looked back, confused. The man stopped right beside the lemonade stand and stood there for a second, looking down at the spilled drink on the ground, then at the boy who was quietly trying to clean up. The boy looked up at him, his eyes red, his lips pressed tight. "You proud of that?" The man asked the biker. The words were simple, but they hit harder than any yell could. The biker blinked, unsure how to respond. "What's it to you?" the biker said, pretending to sound tough. The man took off his cap and wiped the sweat from his forehead. That's when a couple of people nearby recognized him. Whispers started spreading fast, people pulling out phones, pointing quietly. The man was Cena, but right now he wasn't acting like a celebrity. He wasn't posing for cameras. He was just standing there looking at the biker like he was disappointed. "You see this kid?" Cena said, nodding toward the boy. "He's standing out here in the heat trying to do something honest. And you thought it was funny to tear him down?" The biker shifted in place, glancing at his friends, who now looked uneasy. The laughter had died out. The sound of engines idling suddenly felt awkward in the quiet air. Cena didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. "There's a lot of tough people in the world," he said. "But being tough doesn't mean being cruel." The boy just stood there, stunned, watching this tall stranger stand up for him. Cena turned to him and smiled gently. "Hey, buddy, you selling lemonade?" The boy nodded shyly. "How much for one cup?" Cena asked. $1, the boy whispered. Cena pulled out a $100 bill from his wallet and set it on the table. "I'll take all of it," he said. "And keep the change." The boy's eyes widened. "All of it?" he said softly. Cena nodded. "Yeah, you've earned it." He looked back at the biker, whose face had turned red. "Maybe next time," Cena said quietly. "Try being the kind of person you'd want your kid to meet." The biker didn't say a word. He just looked away, his confidence gone. The crowd around them started clapping slowly, a few people cheering as they realized what had just happened. The biker climbed back on his motorcycle, avoiding everyone's gaze, and rode off without another word. His friends followed silently behind. The boy stood there holding the bill in his small hands, unsure whether to smile or cry. Cena knelt down beside him. "Don't let people like that stop you, all right? You're doing something good. Be proud of that," the boy nodded. His voice finally found its way out. "Thank you," Cena smiled. "You're welcome, champ." He poured himself a cup of lemonade, took a sip, and said, "Tastes great to me." For the first time that day, the boy laughed. It wasn't loud, but it was real, full of relief and gratitude. As Cena stood to leave, the boy waved. The people around clapped again, and a few came over to buy lemonade just to show their support. Within minutes, the boy had a line of customers. The sun was still hot, the air still heavy, but the boy's heart felt light. For the first time that day, he didn't feel small anymore. He looked at the empty pitcher and then at the $100 bill in his hand. It wasn't just money, and it was hope, kindness, and proof that good people still existed in the world. He smiled to himself, whispering softly, "Mom's going to be so proud." And as the crowd slowly drifted away, he poured another cup of lemonade, this time with a brighter smile than before. The crowd slowly drifted away after the incident, but the small boy stayed by his lemonade stand, still holding the $100 bill in his hand. He could barely believe what had happened. Only minutes ago he had been humiliated, and now somehow the world felt a little brighter. He poured himself another cup of lemonade, savoring the cold sweetness, and watched people pass by, some giving him encouraging smiles. The sun was still high in the sky, casting long shadows over the street. He tried to shake off the nervousness from the earlier encounter with the biker. His heart was still racing, and he felt a mixture of pride and confusion. He didn't know much about the man who had helped him, only that he was tall, calm, and strong, and somehow everything seemed to feel safer when he was around. From across the street, the black SUV remained parked. The driver's door opened again, and the tall man stepped out. This time he wasn't in a hurry. He walked slowly toward the boy, glancing briefly at the mess left behind. The broken cup and spilled lemonade still covered the corner of the pavement, but the man didn't seem bothered. Instead, he had a look of quiet purpose on his face. The boy straightened up as he noticed the man approaching. "Hi," he said softly, unsure whether to speak or just stay quiet. "Hi there," the man said, kneeling down to meet the boy's eye level. His voice was calm, warm, and steady. "I'm glad you're okay. That wasn't fair what just happened," the boy nodded. "Thank you," he said quietly. He wasn't sure if he was thanking the man for the money, for defending him, or for just being kind. Maybe for all of it. The man smiled. "You know, it takes courage to do what you're doing," he said. "Most kids your age wouldn't even try. Standing here, working hard, hoping to make a little difference, then that's real bravery." The boy's eyes widened a little. "Really?" he asked. "Absolutely," the man said. "It's easy to sit back and watch the world. It's easy to complain or laugh at someone else's hard work. But it takes real courage to stand tall and do something honest. You did that today." The boy's chest swelled with pride. He had never thought of it that way. He had just wanted to help his mom. He had never imagined that someone would notice the courage it took to do something so simple. The man glanced toward the direction the biker had gone. "You know," he said, "sometimes people try to make others feel small because they feel small themselves. That's why he acted the way he did. But you didn't let it stop you." The boy nodded, thinking about the way the biker had laughed, mocked him, and even spilled his lemonade. He still felt a little sting from it, but hearing the man's words made it easier to breathe again. "You're lucky," the man said, "because not every kid has someone notice or stand up for them. And that's why it's important to remember, even when no one is watching, what you do matters. Your honesty, your effort, and your kindness, and it all counts." The boy stared at him. "Do you really think what I'm doing matters?" he asked. The man nodded. "I do. And I think a lot of people will see it too. You just might not know it yet." As he spoke, more people began to gather nearby, curious about the conversation. Some had seen the earlier incident and recognized the man now. Phones were out quietly filming, but no one interrupted. Everyone seemed to sense that this was something important, something worth watching. The boy felt his face turn warm, not from embarrassment this time, but from hope. "Do you really think someone like me can make a difference?" he asked, almost whispering. The man smiled. "Of course. Every small act matters. Every person has the power to make someone's day better. And today you already did that, even if you didn't realize it yet." The boy looked down at the spilled lemonade, then at the clean cups lined up on the table. He imagined all the people who might walk by and smile, maybe buy a cup, maybe just feel a little happier because of his effort. The thought made him feel stronger than he ever had before. "Hey," the man said, reaching out to ruffle the boy's hair gently. "You know what? Keep your head up. Keep working hard. Keep being kind. The world needs more kids like you." The boy smiled shyly. I will," he said. Just then a car drove slowly down the street and a couple of people waved at the boy, smiling. He waved back. A little spark of confidence grew inside him. For the first time that day, he felt like maybe he really could make a difference. The man stood up straight, his eyes scanning the street. "You're doing a great job here," he said. "I think a lot of people are going to notice, especially if you keep at it." The boy's face lit up. "Really?" "Yes," the man said. "And don't worry about people like him," he added, glancing toward where the biker had gone. "They're not important. What matters is what you do, not what others say." The boy took a deep breath. He felt lighter, as if a heavy weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He realized that he hadn't just been humiliated. He had been given a chance to learn something important about standing up, being brave and not letting cruelty define him. The man reached into his bag and pulled out a small notebook. "Here," he said, handing it to the boy. "I want you to write down your goals, even little ones. Sometimes it helps to see them on paper." The boy's eyes widened again. He accepted the notebook with care, flipping through the blank pages. I don't really know what to write," he said. "That's okay," the man said with a smile. "Just start with anything. Maybe your goal is to save enough for your mom, or maybe it's to make enough lemonade to help someone else. Write it down, and every time you feel discouraged, look at it." The boy nodded. He took a pencil from his pocket and wrote at the top of the first page, "Help my mom. Make people smile." "That's a great start," the man said. "And remember, you're not just making lemonade. You're making an example of courage and kindness. People notice that even when you think they don't." The boy felt proud. For the first time that day, he felt like what he was doing really mattered. A few more people stopped to buy lemonade, offering encouraging words. "Keep it up, kid," one said. "You're doing great." The boy's hands moved faster now, filling cups, pouring lemonade carefully, and handing it over with a smile. The nervousness that had gripped him earlier was gone. The warmth in his chest had been replaced with determination. The man watched him for a while quietly, almost like he didn't want to interfere. Then he spoke again. "You know, you can inspire people even with small things, like a smile, a kind word, or a cup of lemonade on a hot day. Those are the things people remember." The boy looked at him. "Do you really think so?" "I do," the man said. "And not just today. Keep being kind. Keep working hard. Don't let anyone tell you that small things don't matter. They do, sometimes more than you can imagine." The boy's eyes sparkled. I'll try," he said. The man nodded. "That's all anyone can ask." He glanced at his watch. "I should get going, but I wanted to make sure you knew something important today. You're stronger than you think, and courage doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like standing here and doing your best." The boy nodded again, feeling a sense of pride swelling in his chest. He knew he would remember this day forever, not just because of the $100 bill or the attention, but because someone had taken the time to teach him about courage and kindness in the middle of a hot summer afternoon. The man smiled one last time and waved. "Keep it up, champ." "You're doing great." The boy waved back, feeling braver than he had all morning. The SUV pulled away slowly, leaving him standing there with renewed determination. He looked at his lemonade stand, at the little cups lined up neatly, and at the notebook in his hand. He was ready. The biker was gone, the crowd had thinned, and the street seemed quieter now. But for the boy, the world felt bigger and brighter. He had learned something important, that courage wasn't about being the loudest or the strongest. It was about standing up for yourself, being kind, and never letting someone else's cruelty define you. He poured another cup of lemonade and handed it to a new customer. "Here you go," he said, smiling. The customer smiled back. "Thank you. Keep up the good work." The boy's smile widened. "I will," he said, and for the first time that day he truly meant it. The sun continued to shine, the air still warm, but the boy felt a sense of peace. He had faced a challenge, been taught a lesson he would never forget, and discovered that even in a world that could be harsh, there were people who believed in doing the right thing. He took a deep breath, ready for whatever the rest of the day would bring, and focused on what mattered most: helping others, staying kind, and never giving up. The boy stood behind his lemonade stand, feeling a sense of pride he had never felt before. The notebook from the man who had helped him lay open on the table, and he kept glancing at the words he had written. "Help my mom. Make people smile." Every time he read them, he felt a little stronger, like he could face anything. The street, which had seemed so intimidating just an hour ago, now felt welcoming. People passed by, giving smiles, patting him on the shoulder, or stopping to buy lemonade. The boy poured each cup carefully, remembering what the man had told him about kindness and courage. He realized that even a small act like selling lemonade could make someone's day better. Meanwhile, the biker who had humiliated him earlier was driving slowly down a different street. He couldn't get the boy or the man out of his mind. Something about the way the tall man had looked at him, calmly but with quiet authority, made him feel smaller than he had ever felt in front of a crowd. He tried to laugh it off with his friends, but the words stuck in his throat. "Did you see that?" one of his friends asked. "The kid? And that guy, he just made you look like a fool." The biker grunted, gripping the handlebars tightly. "Whatever. He's just some guy. That kid doesn't matter." But deep down he couldn't shake the feeling of embarrassment. The moment replayed over and over in his mind. The calm eyes, the quiet words, the way the man had bought all the lemonade without even hesitation. For the first time, the biker felt what it was like to be on the losing side of a situation that had nothing to do with physical strength. Back at the stand, the boy was surprised to see more people gathering. Some were curious, some had heard the story from others, and some had seen the first video that someone had quietly started recording. People started sharing the story with their phones, filming the boy as he worked and smiling at his effort. The small boy, who had been humiliated just moments ago, was now being recognized for his courage. A couple approached and asked, "Is this your lemonade?" The boy nodded. "Yes, sir. Fresh and cold." They smiled and handed him some bills. "Keep up the good work," one said. "You're doing something special." The boy felt warmth spread through his chest. He poured the lemonade carefully, handed it over, and said, "Thank you." Word spread quickly, and soon the boy had a small line of people waiting to buy lemonade. He worked faster now, pouring with care, serving with a smile, and remembering the lessons he had learned from the tall man who had come earlier. Each smile he received in return made him feel proud and strong. Meanwhile, the biker couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. He drove aimlessly, trying to shake off the feeling, but it stayed with him. Finally, he pulled into a small parking lot to rest. He looked around and realized that the laughter and confidence he had shown earlier had been meaningless. He thought about the boy, so small, so young, yet so brave. And then he thought about the man, calm, steady, and completely unshaken by his attitude. For the first time, the biker felt ashamed of how he had treated someone weaker than him. He remembered the way the man had spoken. "You're not proud of that, are you?" Those words, quiet but powerful, echoed in his mind. He realized that being cruel to someone else had not made him feel strong. It had only shown his own weakness. The biker looked at his hands, noticing the tension that had built up from his anger earlier. He felt a knot in his stomach, a mix of guilt and regret. He had been loud, rough and mean, and now he understood that it had been pointless. Back at the lemonade stand, the boy continued serving customers. Every cup he poured seemed to carry more meaning now. He wasn't just selling lemonade. He was sharing courage, hope, and the reminder that small acts of kindness could shine even in the face of cruelty. Then something unexpected happened. A group of people approached him holding out their phones. "We saw what happened earlier," one said. "That guy was awful. But the way that man stood up for you, it was amazing. Can we share this?" The boy nodded shyly. "Sure." They smiled, filming him as he smiled back and handed out lemonade. Within minutes, more people gathered, some asking questions, others simply watching. The small boy who had been humiliated was now at the center of attention, and this time, it was for the right reasons. Meanwhile, the biker drove past the block again, noticing the growing crowd around the lemonade stand. He slowed down, his eyes widening in disbelief. More people had come, and some were filming, some were cheering, and the boy was smiling, handing lemonade to everyone patiently. He seemed confident, happy, and unbothered. For the first time, the biker felt the weight of public judgment. He realized that everyone around had seen what he had done. The ridicule, the laughter, and the mean words had all been caught on camera. People were sharing it, talking about it, and praising the boy instead of him. He clenched his fists, not knowing what to do. He had never felt like this before, exposed, embarrassed, and powerless. The confidence he had shown earlier was gone. For the first time, he felt small and weak in a way that couldn't be fixed by loud words or big gestures. The biker watched as the tall man, who had helped the boy, walked away calmly. He wasn't boasting, he wasn't yelling, he was simply leaving, and the lesson he had given had already been learned. The biker realized that courage didn't need to be loud. It didn't need to be aggressive. It could be quiet, steady, and powerful in ways he hadn't understood before. He pulled his bike to the side of the street and sat there for a long time, thinking. The embarrassment was heavy, but it was also a wake-up call. He thought about the boy's courage, the way he had stood up despite fear and heat and ridicule. He thought about the man's words, about respect, about kindness, and about what true strength really meant. Finally, the biker made a decision. He wasn't sure what the right way to fix things was yet, but he knew he couldn't leave without at least trying to make amends. He took out his phone and watched the videos people had shared. He saw himself in them, laughing and mocking, and he couldn't stand it. The shame was overwhelming. Meanwhile, at the lemonade stand, the boy was running low on cups and lemonade. He looked at the growing line of people smiling and laughing, and felt a sense of pride. He had never imagined that selling lemonade could bring so much joy, hope, and even courage to others. A man came up to him and said, "You know, it's amazing how something so small can have such a big impact. You're inspiring people." The boy's chest swelled. He had never thought of himself as someone who could inspire. I just wanted to help my mom," he said softly. The man smiled. "And look what you did. You made people notice kindness, courage, and honesty. That's important." The boy nodded, feeling proud and strong. He poured the last of his lemonade carefully, handing it to the waiting customer, and smiled. Back on the street, the biker sat quietly, thinking about what to do next. He finally stood up and walked toward the lemonade stand slowly, unsure of how he would be received. He felt nervous, ashamed, and small, but he also knew he had to try. The boy noticed him approaching and tensed up. For a moment, he feared another outburst, another insult. But this time, the man didn't yell and the biker didn't laugh. He simply walked up, looking nervous and uncomfortable, and stopped a few feet away. I wanted to say sorry, he said quietly. His voice was low, almost trembling. I shouldn't have yelled at you. Or laughed. Or spilled your lemonade. It was wrong. The boy blinked, surprised. He didn't know what to say at first. The line of people behind him watched quietly. The biker continued. I didn't know how to act. I thought being loud and mean made me strong. But I was wrong. You were brave and that man, he showed me what I should have been. The boy's lips curved into a small, cautious smile. Thank you, he said softly. I appreciate that. The biker nodded, looking down at the ground. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just wanted to say it. The boy felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time that day, he felt that maybe even people who made mistakes could learn something important. He nodded again. Okay, he said. Thank you for saying that. The biker gave a small, awkward smile and stepped back. He had learned a hard lesson about respect, kindness, and courage. He knew it would take time to change, but this was a start. The boy turned back to his stand, handing out the last cups of lemonade. He smiled at the remaining customers, feeling proud, strong, and hopeful. He had faced humiliation, learned courage, inspired people, and even helped someone else begin to see the world differently. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the street. The boy looked around at the quieting crowd and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. He had done more than sell lemonade. He had stood up, kept smiling, and shared a lesson about kindness, courage, and hope. And for the first time that day, he truly believed that even the smallest person could make a big difference. The boy stood behind his lemonade stand, the last rays of the sun warming the street. The notebook the tall man had given him still lay open on the table, pages filled with his small, honest goals. He looked at it and smiled, realizing how far he had come in just one day. Just a few hours ago, he had been humiliated, scared, and unsure of himself. Now he felt stronger, proud, and full of hope. People were still passing by. Some stopped to buy lemonade, while others just watched, curious about the boy who had faced the biker and stood tall. Phones were out, quietly filming, and soon a few videos started appearing online. Within minutes, the story began spreading like wildfire. People shared clips on social media, and comments poured in from all over the country. This kid is amazing, one person wrote. Look at how brave he is, said another. Kindness wins, someone else added. The boy didn't fully understand all the attention at first. He was focused on his customers, making sure every cup was full, pouring lemonade carefully and handing it over with a smile. Each customer's smile made him feel proud. It was a small thing, but he realized that even small acts could have a big impact. Meanwhile, his story started reaching local news stations. Reporters came to the street, cameras and microphones ready. They wanted to talk to the boy, to hear what he had experienced. The boy was nervous at first, unsure how to answer questions, but he remembered what the tall man had told him about courage. He took a deep breath and began speaking. Quietly at first, then with more confidence. I just wanted to help my mom, he said softly. I didn't mean to do anything big. I just wanted to sell lemonade and maybe make someone smile. The reporters nodded, impressed by his honesty and humility. They filmed him pouring lemonade, interacting with customers, and even showing the notebook where he had written his goals. The story was simple yet powerful. A small boy, a lemonade stand, courage, kindness, and the lesson he had learned about standing up for himself. The videos online quickly went viral. People across the country were moved by his story. Some sent messages offering support, others sent donations, and a few even asked if they could help him continue his lemonade stand. The small boy, who had been scared and humiliated just hours ago, suddenly found himself at the center of something much bigger than he had ever imagined. Local businesses took notice too. A nearby grocery store sent a basket of fresh lemons and sugar with a note. Keep up the good work. You inspire all of us. Another store sent a small cooler to help him keep the lemonade cold during hot afternoons. The boy was amazed. He hadn't expected so much support, and he realized that kindness could spread just as quickly as cruelty. Even the tall man who had helped him earlier was being recognized in the videos. People were praising him for standing up for the boy in such a calm and powerful way. Comments on social media called him a hero, but the boy knew he was just a man who had chosen to do the right thing. He remembered the words the man had said. Courage doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and powerful in ways you don't see at first. The biker, who had humiliated the boy earlier, couldn't escape the growing attention either. Videos of him laughing at the boy were circulating online, and people recognized him in the clips. At first he felt embarrassed, but the more he saw the boy's courage and the tall man's calm strength, the more he realized the lesson he had been taught. It was not easy for him to face, but he knew he had to change. Back at the lemonade stand, the boy was surprised when an envelope was slipped onto the table. He opened it carefully and found money inside, more than he had ever seen from one person before. There was a note that read, "I'm sorry for what I did. Thank you for showing me what real courage is." The boy's eyes widened. He looked around, wondering who had left it. He realized that even the person who had hurt him had learned something important. His heart felt full not just because of the money, but because someone had recognized the value of kindness and courage. As the afternoon went on, more people came by. Some bought lemonade, some just stood and watched, and some came to thank him for being brave. The boy poured lemonade as fast as he could, smiling, laughing, and talking to everyone who stopped. He had never imagined that selling lemonade could bring so much joy, hope, and inspiration to others. A local reporter approached him again. "Do you understand how many people are watching your story?" she asked. The boy shook his head. "Not really," he said. "I just wanted to help my mom." "But look what you've done," the reporter said. "You've inspired thousands of people. You've shown courage, kindness, and honesty. People are talking about it everywhere." The boy felt shy but proud. He realized that even small acts, when done with honesty and courage, could create a ripple effect. What started as a simple lemonade stand had become something much bigger. A story of bravery, kindness, and hope that people all over the country could see. Meanwhile, the biker had made another decision. He returned to the street quietly, unsure of how he would be received. He had brought a small gift, a box of lemonade cups and a note that read, "I'm sorry for what I did earlier. I've learned that strength isn't about being mean. I hope you can forgive me." The boy looked at him cautiously. For a moment, he wasn't sure what to do, but then he remembered the tall man's words about courage and kindness. He realized that accepting the apology and moving forward was the right thing to do. "Thank you," he said softly. "I accept it." The biker nodded, looking relieved. He didn't say anything else, but the simple act of apology had changed him. He had learned a lesson he would never forget, that real strength is about respect, not cruelty. As the sun began to set, the street was filled with a soft golden light. People were still coming by, some to buy lemonade, some to watch, and some to offer encouragement. The boy felt a sense of peace and accomplishment he had never felt before. He had faced fear, humiliation, and anger, and he had come out stronger and braver. The tall man returned briefly, walking quietly to the boy. "Looks like you're doing great," he said, smiling. The boy nodded. "Yes, sir. People are really nice. They're helping me a lot." The man smiled warmly. "I'm glad. Just remember, courage and kindness are stronger than any cruelty you'll face. Keep being yourself and you'll continue to make a difference." The boy looked at him, feeling grateful. "I will," he said. The crowd began to thin as evening approached, but the boy continued to serve the last few customers. He poured lemonade carefully, handed it over with a smile, and felt a sense of pride that went deeper than any money he could earn. He looked at the notebook, at the words he had written earlier, and realized that he had grown so much in just one day. He had learned about courage, kindness, and standing up for himself. He had inspired others, received apologies, and felt the power of community. The street was quiet now, the sun low in the sky, and the boy felt a gentle breeze on his face. He packed up the stand slowly, carefully storing the leftover lemonade, cleaning the cups, and making sure everything was in order. He knew that tomorrow he would be ready to do it all again, not just to sell lemonade, but to share hope, courage, and kindness with everyone who passed by. As he walked home, the notebook tucked under his arm, he thought about the day. He had been scared, humiliated, and uncertain. But through it all, he had learned that bravery isn't about fighting or being loud. It's about standing up, being honest, and showing kindness even when it's hard. He smiled to himself, thinking about all the people who had come by, the tall man who had helped him, and the lessons he had learned. He realized that even a small boy with a lemonade stand could make a big difference in the world, simply by being brave, honest, and kind. And as the lights of the town began to glow in the evening, he knew that this day, the day he faced fear, learned courage, and inspired others, was just the beginning. He was ready for whatever came next, knowing that kindness and bravery would always guide him. The boy walked home slowly, smiling, feeling proud and knowing that the world could be a better place, one small act at a time. Part 4 focuses on the story going viral, community support, and the impact of kindness while showing both the boy's growth and the biker's realization.